Hi everyone, Chef Jason Schaub here, author of the cookbook Overland Cookery, and today we're going to be doing my take on a steak fajita skillet. And importantly, the ingredients in this recipe last for up to 7 days when you're on the trail, making this a great option for those extended trips away from civilization. And we're going to get started right away. We're going to be using a carbon skillet today. You could use a cast iron, you could use a non-stick. I like carbon for this because it cooks similar to a cast iron, where you get that nice seasoning. But they're not as heavy as a cast iron, and they have much longer handles, so they're a lot easier to work with in the field. So we're bringing that up to temperature and get our steak ready. We're using this beautiful New York strip steak that we picked up earlier. I'm gonna put a little bit of light olive oil in. And a note on salting steaks, there's different ways to go about this. If you have time, it's best to salt the steak at least an hour in advance, because what that does is the salt will bring moisture out of the steak, which is not good, but if it sits long enough, the steak will reabsorb that moisture, but it reabsorbs the seasoned salted moisture, deeply seasoning the steak, than you would just with the surface salt. Since we just pulled this out of the cooler, we're gonna go ahead and salt it as it goes in, so we get a nice crust, flavorful crust without drying the meat out. And as you can see, these carbon skillets with the full-length handle are a lot easier to work with than your traditional short-handled cast iron skillet. While the pan's heating up for the steak, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on our pickled red onion, radish, and purple cabbage garnish. And this is a great garnish because you have the citric acid from the lime juice, you have salt, and you get all these crunchy, flavorful components that pairs really well with the rich steak and the spicy fajita mix. So we're just gonna thinly slice our red onion. And you can't slice the onion too thin. You want it like paper thin. And ditto with the radish, paper thin. This is what you call a quick pickle, so it's only gonna pickle for about 20 or 30 minutes. And they're nice because you still get texture, you get flavor. And it's quick. Get that, hit it with some salt. And we're using fresh bottled lime juice because we got margaritas planned for later. But obviously fresh squeeze is a good way to go too. Okay, our pan's looking good. Go ahead and put our steak in. Yeah, you can hear that, that's a good heat. We want it hot at first to get a nice crust, and then we'll cool it down to medium, low, and get to the internal temperature that we're looking for. Salt this side. Pepper. This will take about 3 or 4 minutes per side. It's a relatively thick steak, which is nice. It gives us a little bit more leeway in how we cook it. Thinner steaks you have to be a lot more careful with, because if you overcook it, you shoot right through your ideal temperature zone into an overcooked area. And while that's going, we'll get started on our fajita mix, which is gonna be some white onion. I love white onion for Southwestern food, which has a really bright flavor that's unique from yellow onion or sweet onion, but they still have a high sugar content. Oh. Some lime. Looks good. And some bell pepper. Over here. And when I'm doing fajitas, I like to go really thin. A lot of fajitas that you get at restaurants or wherever you're dining, they're really thick pieces of pepper and onion, and I find that they don't caramelize very well. It's almost like a stewed raw pepper that's just not that enjoyable to me. So I go really thin, almost like a shoestring, and a hot pan cooks very quickly, but you get that nice caramelization, the sweetness from all the sugars. So something more that, if you can see, nice and thin. Keep eyes on our steak. Good, I'm gonna give it a flip. And I'm gonna rotate the steak as I flip it, because right now, the meat's been cooking diagonally on this side, and we flip it, here and here are gonna be hotter than where the steak was already contacting the metal. Again, ensuring a good crust. It's looking nice. Move on to the green pepper. Steak's looking good, so I'm gonna turn this down. So I don't overcook it. And it's been a few minutes, so at this point I start testing the internal temperature just to monitor to see where we're going. We're still at 70, 67. We got a little ways to go, 74. But it's good to check constantly, every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes, because as it starts getting higher and higher in temperature, it's not linear. It's almost logarithmic in that the temperature increases quicker and quicker as it gets closer to being done. Okay, fajita's almost done. I'm excited today because we found some awesome kabocha squash at a import market on the way up here. This is also known as a Japanese pumpkin, and it's one of my favorite ingredients for overlanding. The flavor and texture is similar, most similar to a butternut squash, but this is creamier, a little more luscious in mouthfeel, and the skin is completely edible, even though it looks rock hard. You saute it down, you can make soups out of it, and it's just a wonderful source of nutrition, of energy. They're kind of like cannonballs in the back of the truck too. You're not gonna hurt this thing. It'll last for months, uncut. Once you cut into it, it'll still last for up to 2 weeks in cold storage. So it's super universal, super versatile, high value ingredient to bring when you're overlanding. So for the fajitas, we're just going to dice up a little bit of it. I'm gonna dice it really small so that it cooks quickly, about the same time as the peppers. And they're not easy to cut sometimes. Here we go. Look at that beautiful color. It's gonna be good. Go. All right, that'll be good. So this provides a little bit of an extra boost in nutrition, flavor, and if you're not a meat eater, if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can omit the protein altogether and add more kabocha, and you have a well-rounded, nutritionally balanced meal. And instant read thermometer is another one of these great indispensable tools that I always bring when we're overlanding. I consider it one of our top 5 must-have kitchen items. All right, 110. So we're getting really close. Now this is a New York strip, which has a fat cap along the back. And what I like to do to make sure we get all that fat rendered out is to go ahead and take your tongs and lay it fat side down like that. That's gonna ensure that that white fat renders, turns translucent, it's crispy and juicy and not chewy at all. We've got some grilled limes in here too, which we're gonna garnish the plate with. Tempers the citric acid in the lime, but still gets you that nice acidic flavor. Really good. Let's see where we're at. 126, 123, 133. I go around the steak, take an average. I go for 135. I pull it off a couple degrees early because it's gonna continue to cook. So I'm gonna pull it right now. I think we're ready. Because I do not like my steak overcooked. And while we cook our fajitas, we'll let the steak rest 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll keep all those juices inside. So we're gonna keep that pan going and transfer the rest of our fajita ingredients. A little more oil. And a little bit of cumin powder. It's a nice, dry, earthy, spicy flavor. Of course, salt and pepper. Now don't stir this too constantly because you want to get that caramelization and crust going. So let it sit every, saute every minute or two. All right, so it's been a couple minutes and our fajita mix is looking really good. Got some nice color caramelization going on the peppers and onions. The kabocha looks like it's cooked through. So we're gonna turn the temp down on that and let it stay warm. In the meantime, we're gonna slice our steak. This is a New York strip, and you typically wanna go against the grain, but we're gonna do nice thick slices, so it's not quite as important. And it looks nicer when you present it going down the entire strip. You get a little bit of fat cap in each bite. It's just a really nice presentation. There we go, it's looking good. Oh yeah, the crust on this is really nice. This is that locally sourced Arizona beef that we picked up. Oh yeah. It's looking good. So, finish this off. I'm presenting this how I would present it for my travel partner and I. So it's a dinner for two. And we're gonna present this right down the middle. Let's do one more cut there. Just like that. Beautiful. little queso fresco. And a pinch of our quick pickled purple cabbage, red onion, and radish slaw for a textural and flavor contrast that pairs really nicely with the steak. Voila. Pair that with some margaritas. Muy bueno.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I like that fat there.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. This is a great way to do a a nice couples or partners meal. And feel free to reach out, and we'll see you out there.